Okay, this is me drifting a whole bunch of awesome Porsches, from the 911 GT3 to the 718 Cayman GT4 Clubsport, and even a Taycan. And there is some amazing cinematography in this film that you really want to stick around for, but it's special to me. This was the last film I got to shoot before lockdown, so I really hope you enjoy it. But it's not just pretty pictures, there is a story to this film as well. Now, let's get it started properly. I'm pretty sure I have a script around here somewhere. Yes, here we go. Picture paradise. Is it a warm beach, palm trees swaying in the wind, cocktail in hand? Well, maybe. But for me, paradise is a bit colder. This is Lapland, the northernmost part of Finland, just inside the Arctic Circle and home to heavenForce Pro, a playground of ice and snow where those with a passion for Porsche can put their skills to the test on dozens of custom-made ice tracks of varying speed and complexity across 76 acres of Arctic forest. And I must have done something very right in a past life, because I got an invite to experience this for myself. First off was getting to grips with driving on ice in a Carrera 4S. The humble Carrera may be the entry-level 911, but the 4S has that ever so handy four-wheel drive that makes it a little easier to get to grips with the lack of, well, grip. The courses at heavenForce Pro have been custom designed and painstakingly built over the first half of winter, slowly compacting the fresh snow and ice and spraying it with water every single night before repeating each morning with the fresh snow. The result is spectacular. After a tentative start and more than a few times beaching the car, I started to get the hang of it. And boy, was it fun. But this is my job after all, so there has to be a journalistic point to make out of all of this. So let me justify why I'm here for a moment.
Porsche makes practical cars, and I'm not just talking Panamera and Cayenne here. The 911 is fundamentally a really practical sports car. You could use it for absolutely everything on a daily basis that you'd ever need a car for. But people don't buy Porsches because they're practical. People buy them, well, because they're fun. Now, on the other side of the equation, from sports cars, we have electric cars. Now, electric cars have become a necessity out of environmental concerns, practical concerns. It's the way the future is going, absolutely no doubt. But can you still have fun with them? We know that electric cars can accelerate quickly, and that's one form of fun. But what if you want to have this kind of fun?
This wouldn't be something we'd want to give up in an all-electric future, is it? So with cars like Taycan showing us a glimpse of the electrified future for Porsche, the question remains, can we still have fun like this? Luckily, there just so happened to be a few Taycans lurking around there in Lapland, and at the end of my experience, I'd get the chance to throw one around on the ice.
The 911 as a car, just in the Carrera 4S I've been driving all morning, drifting, going sideways, spinning, and yes, beaching it once or twice, but all of that from a car which, in terms of preparation for this weather, has only been given studded tyres, which give a modicum of more grip. It proves once again just how flexible that car was right from the outset. It's a car that's, in one form or another participated in pretty much every form of motorsport there is, and you can have as much fun with the 911 as you choose to do. It is really the ultimate flexible car. But the Taycan is the future, and we need to explore it from all of its facets. So when I get to drive that tomorrow, will the smile on my face then be as big as it is now?
But before I jump into the Taycan, there was still a lot I had to master in the more traditional internal combustion engine cars. For starters, that meant upgrading from the C4S to the mighty 911 GT3. Switching from four-wheel drive to rear-wheel drive and adding a stack of horsepower to boot meant a bit of a learning curve, but a whole other level of fun.
You can't be just as flat out on the throttle as I could be in all-wheel drive, having to be a lot more considered about how to approach an angle. Linking turns is just that little bit trickier, but still so satisfying when you get it right. Having the confidence to use throttle to get yourself out of a scary position. So counterintuitive when you think about it. Usually the brakes are what save you from a weird situation. Now, more throttle is the answer. I love this so much. But how much of it am I loving because this is an internal combustion traditional engine? For all intents and purposes, because I'm turning off all of the traction control and driver aids, it's as dumb as a car gets. With all due respect to Porsche, this isn't that different from cars as they've been for 100 years.
Prior to this trip, I would have described my drifting skills as limited at best. But with the help of some expert tutelage from the amazing pro drivers on duty, and most importantly, lots and lots of seat time, I quickly started to get the hang of it. The single best thing about heavenForce Pro was the amount of time we got in the cars. The daylight may have been limited this far north in the winter, but even when the light faded, it didn't stop us from going out and having an absolute blast. And if you think drifting a Porsche 911 GT3 out on ice sounds fun, wait till you've tried it in the pitch dark with just your headlights to show the way. None of the driving experiences I've had that are open to the public gave you anywhere near as much time behind the wheel. Over 3 days, 8 hours a day of driving, from before dawn until after dark. This was the most intense driving experience I had ever had, and there was still more to come. Because before it was time to sample the Taycan, there was one more old school car to take out for a spin. Not a 911, but the Cayman GT4 Clubsport. Rear-wheel drive on 5mm studs mid-engined. I did not need to be asked twice. This was beyond awesome, and although the look on my face might look less than ecstatic, that's just because it took everything in my tiny little brain to focus on the job in hand. The courses we progressed onto looked more and more like winter rally stages, and the tight turns and brutal elevation changes made it more than thrilling. By the end of it all, I felt more than ever before that I was in complete control of these cars out there on the ice. Until now, any drifting or ice driving I had done had largely been a case of mashing the go pedal and enjoying whatever happened. But now I felt completely at one with the car, and it was pure driving heaven. This absolutely was paradise. It doesn't come cheap though. The 3-day experience we had would cost you over €12,000, which would include accommodation and all the driving experiences. It's a huge chunk of cash, but there really isn't anything like it.
Don't think of an electric car as just a new form of propulsion. It's the continuation of all those driver aids and onboard computers that take away a lot of the decision making. And that's fine if you want to drive safely, and efficiently. But what if you want to have fun? That's what we're here to do. You want to disengage that. You want to use the car like a tool. Ice driving is a very tactile, visceral way of learning car control, and having driven internal combustion engines all my professional life, you get a feel for how an engine works and how to respond to it. And as we get closer to driving Taycan later on, I'm beginning to wonder how an electric car is going to be able to compare. Will I be able to feel it in the same way, especially out here where the tactility of driving is so important? So I've just been given a quick lap with one of the pro drivers here, and they've shown me that you can drift in a Taycan, and if you can drift, then you should be able to have fun. The light is rapidly going, so I'm hoping you're actually going to be able to see what I do. But here we go. Got a brief chance to find out if the future is going to be fun. Immediately you can get this just as sideways as anything else. You're not oh my word, yes, no problem whatsoever. The added weight, you feel it, but because there's so much power, I can hold as much angle as I want. The steering is a little bit numb. It's not quite as communicative as you'd like. The throttle is instantaneous though. There is no lag whatsoever. So you skip over any turbo lag or anything that you might have in a Porsche 911, even in the most direct ones, and that power, as soon as you put your foot down, goes straight to the ground. How much is this car doing for me though? Will we lose the ability to even know the difference, whether or not a car is helping us do things? That was way more fun, way more engaging than I thought it was going to be. The one thing that's lacking though is sound. Not having that rev counter leap up or bounce off the limiter. It does remove a little bit of the, that feeling in the pit of your stomach that you're really doing something hard. Is that the end of the world? Out on the ice, you realize that the breadth of the possibilities that the 911 and their internal combustion engines have given us for decades. Absolute fun, absolute control. This trip has been about finding out if the next generation of cars, the electrification of Porsche, whether that's going to leave anything behind. This is something that's purely designed to be driving entertainment, and if the Taycan couldn't stack up there, I would have been worried. But immediately from hitting the gas, spinning up all four wheels with that tremendous amount of torque that's available straight away, it's not just there to go fast in a straight line. You can use it to just have fun. I was more than entertained. I had a blast. Out of all of the cars that I've driven, it might not have been the most fun, but it was certainly the one I was most reluctant to get out of. Maybe that's because it was new, maybe because I was so surprised, but there was something about it that made me want to stay in it. When Porsche started making cars other than 911 sports cars, like the Cayenne and the Panamera, there's always a period where we're thinking, should they be doing this? Shouldn't they just stick to what they're good at? And every time they've proven us wrong, time after time after time. You can have an electric Porsche that drives like a Porsche. One day we'll have something shaped like a 911 that is fully electric, and we'll give it a rough time. We'll hate on it for a while. We'll put them through the ringer, and then we'll all go out and buy one. And that will be the future. But for now, while there's an offering of internal combustion engines from the 911 through to the GT3 and now Taycan, I think we've got a lot of options. And they're all really, really good.